by the Murdoch Children's Research Institute. It argues medication is failing to improve students' long-term results. For more, here's Professor Harriet Hiscock in Melbourne. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program, Professor Hiscock. If you could please just begin by outlining the major findings in this research, and in particular how it is possible to be able to determine that in particular medication is not seen as being most effective where these students are concerned.
Sure. Well, we followed in this study 130 children with ADHD from primary school into high school, and we looked at how they were going in their NAPLAN results in year 7 and 9 compared to their peers. And as you said, we found that a significant proportion of them were performing below the national minimum standard, which was quite surprising to us. We knew there'd be a gap, but we didn't expect it to be that big. On the other hand, some children were doing really well, but around 72% of the children were on medication, which we think definitely helps with focus and concentration in the classroom, but is not actually treating the underlying learning issues that these children have.
What would you say are some of the particular challenges that these children are facing in the classroom, and how effectively their condition is being managed?
Well, these children face daily challenges, particularly around focus and concentration. But as they get into high school, when the work becomes more difficult and more complex, it's organisation which is a real challenge for these kids. So they might get a lot of homework or a big project and they don't know where to start. They need a lot of help to break that down into smaller tasks which are more achievable. But what we've also shown is that really these problems are starting a lot earlier than expected. Both our work and other work by colleagues in Australia are saying we should really target support for kids with ADHD in the primary school years and not wait to high school when the gap is already there.
Is there also an issue around how we diagnose this particular condition? Because there is still, I suppose, some concerns around whether or not people may in fact be diagnosing condition when it isn't prevalent in the community. What's your opinion on those sorts of concerns?
Yeah, look, the rate of diagnosis of ADHD has remained fairly stable in Australia. So I think certainly the children in our study had been through paediatricians, and we checked to see that they met criteria for ADHD still, which they all did. And clearly these kids on average are having a lot more problem with their academic outcomes compared to their peers. So we're picking up something in this group of kids, and it is, we know with ADHD, it's the lack of development of the frontal lobe of the brain where we focus and concentrate that really is underpinning it all.
In your view, with the study and the findings that it's delivered, where would we best be able to target resources? Is it in the classroom? Is it more support in the home, for instance, as well?
Mary, I think they're all great ideas, Mary. I think we need to target both because these kids obviously spend a lot of time in both settings, school and home. We need to start in primary school with some more one-on-one or small group support around literacy and numeracy for these children. And when we get into high school, we're hoping to develop and trial some interventions to help kids with ADHD better organise themselves and help their parents to let them do that as well, so that they can actually get through the high school demands and have a good chance of finishing high school and going on to further education.
Is a standard education approach viable for students with this condition, or should there be an additional strand?
Yeah, look, that's a great question. I think there'll be some children with ADHD who do cope in the current standard approach to education, but a large majority won't, and there needs to be consideration of modification of their actual curriculum, which does happen certainly in the state of Victoria with individual learning plans in some schools. But we also need to get better at understanding how to teach these kids and help them to ensure that they do get the basics and then can build on that to do further study.
Indeed, more work to be done there. Professor Harriet Hiscock with the Murdoch Children's Research Institute, thank you very much for your time speaking to us.
Thank you.
Top story.